Hey everybody, I'm Blue, and today is a very special day. I made a promise to myself when I started this channel that if I did a very good job uploading, then for my 1-year anniversary, I would talk about one of my favorite video games of all time. And I think we can call it a success! I only missed 2 uploads the whole year, and I beat my subscriber goal by 11. Not 10, 11. So thank you all so much for your support, and as a reward to you guys, I'm gonna talk about a video game that nobody has ever heard of, Okage Shadow King. And heads up, I am gonna go into some spoilers. I don't think anybody will be too offended considering the fact that this game turns 25 on the 15th. And I really want to talk about what makes it so special, and I'm not sure how to do that without spoilers. So, without further ado, let's jump in. Have you ever felt completely ignored? Like what you said didn't matter, what you did barely made a difference, that the people who are supposed to care about you barely look your way even when they're talking to you? Well, that is the life of the boy in this game. It's a JRPG where you can name the protagonist, but we're gonna go ahead and stick with his canon name of Ari. He is the one currently being drawn. Ari lives a simple life, where he's content to just be the boy next door. He doesn't need to speak up, he doesn't need to be heard, he's fine just existing. In fact, it's best to stay out of trouble, isn't it? His life is changed forever on the day that his sister is stricken with a horrible and awful curse. She must speak Pig Latin for the rest of her life. And her family is in uproar. What if she becomes a comic relief character? What if she's some sort of a joke? They already have one kid who's not going to do anything, so they have to do what they can to save their daughter. And that involves making a deal with the great evil king Stanley Hi-Hat Trinidad the 14th. Stan has been trapped inside of a bottle for the last 100 or so years after being sealed away by the great hero. He would like to make his grand return to the world, but unfortunately there's a few problems. First and foremost being, his powers have been stripped away from him, and thus he can only exist as a shadow. And because of this, he needs to find the shadow of somebody so completely unremarkable that he can basically use them as a puppet because there's no competition for ideas. And I'll go ahead and throw a picture of him up real quick. He's probably the most iconic and recognizable character from this game for obvious reasons. So with the deal ready to be struck, one by one the family members gather round and give their shadows to the evil king in order to save Annie. However, they're all just a little bit too much. All of them with their titles of mother and father and grandmother and grandfather. There's no room for an evil king amongst such defined and pathetic roles. But then, when he steps into Ari's shadow, Stan finds the perfect vessel. And in order to save his sister, the boy agrees to the terms and conditions. And now this unremarkable boy is stuck doing the bidding for an evil king who once tried to plunge the world into darkness. Now, luckily this game has a pretty light comedic tone. Stan throughout the course of the game performs such unquestionably evil acts, such as removing somebody's welcome mat from their door so that they won't feel welcome when they arrive at home. Then he'll use his terrifying elastic body to return a hat that was blown away. So, despite being imprisoned to an evil king that he must serve for all of eternity, Ari really didn't get that bad of a deal, because not only does Stan remove his sister's curse of Pig Latin, he also gives her a hot pink shadow, which, where that might sound a little weird, and Annie certainly thought it was at the very start, she quickly learns it's a conversation starter and learns how to use it to her advantage. So, Ari and Stan venture off into the world in order to collect Stan's power, which has been sealed away inside of false evil kings. Individual who desires something so strongly and with such force that they are able to take on fragments of the evil king in order to obtain their dreams. Ari isn't alone with the evil king for long, as he is quickly joined by the researcher Kiesling and the parasol hero Rosalind, who I'm currently inking in the drawing. Together, the 3 of them begin their quest to defeat each of these false evil kings and return Stan's power to him. Which might seem a little bit odd for a hero to be helping the villain restore his power, but at the end of the day, one threat is a lot easier to handle than 8. Together, they journey across the world, defeating the false evil kings, one after another. And these villains, their motives range from just wanting a place to feel like they belong, like the sewer evil king, all the way to hypnotizing an entire town to worship the ground you walk on, such as the pop idol evil king. Some of these enemies even join the party, like Big Bull, who I bet you can guess who in this drawing is Big Bull, and he hopes to become the strongest fighter in the world and wants to open a gym to challenge anybody that comes to fight him so he can just continue to grow stronger. And Linda, who wants to earn the right to be the people's idol after doing the before-mentioned hypnotizing of an entire town. It's fine, she's totally on the straight and narrow from now on, for sure. And lastly, they are joined by... Actually, let's back up a little bit. Throughout the course of the game, the party meets an insane array of just absurd characters, all of which are identified by the trait that they best exemplify. Instead of a name, every character has an occupation or a quirk that is set as the description in their text box where their name normally would be. That's not Dave, that's Cranky Fisherman. That's not Amanda, that's Forgetful Swordsman. And you know, in a game like this, it makes sense. It's not that strange. Until it is. Remember how Ari's parents were afraid that Annie was going to become some sort of a comic relief character? That wasn't just the game's quirky sense of humor, that was the game's main theme. The people in this world are trapped, and they don't even know it. They are ruled by the classification system, a series of documents that come out every so often, written by someone somewhere with the ability to define who a person is. Your name shows up on the list, and you're no longer loud child, you are now tragic teen. Your life has been changed, and you don't even know why or how, but you know that you can no longer be who you were because you were just told that you're not. You have been classified as someone new, and that is exactly who you are. But who writes this list? Who gets to define what a person is and what they represent? But also, isn't it easier this way? I mean, it just takes so long to define yourself, to figure out who you are piece by piece, year by year, and discover a person who's never existed before. Wouldn't it be easier to just be punk rock kid, theater brat, minion bee? You know who you are because you were told, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. You just have to be the best minion bee that you can be. And in the context of this game, that proposes something a little interesting, doesn't it? Because if everyone is defined, then how could anybody be a host for Stan? Well, it turns out Ari is so unremarkable, so boring, so without any trait or wish or desire that the person that classifies the world completely overlooked him. Ari is a plot hole personified. The writer of the world's story forgot about the OC they made to fill one tiny little niche role at the far end of the world. And that's why Ari, and only Ari, is able to stand up to the one who wrote the world and challenge the classification system. Because he was so forgettable. But going through life being completely ignored, being completely overshadowed by everyone you see, never making connections, never growing or responding to the world around you, that's not really a way to live. So despite the fact that this power, this ability to be overlooked is exactly what's going to allow him to save the world, he also needs to learn to be seen. And that's why this game is so incredibly important to me. Because there is a difference between going through life and living. And this game may not be the one that I'm first to recommend to people, but it's one that found me when I most needed to hear these messages and hear these themes. And that's why this game continues to resonate with me years later. And this isn't even necessarily a nostalgic game for me. I found this game when I was in college, really struggling through it, and seeing Ari go on this journey and learn to make these connections and learn to really connect with the world around him, even if it was corrupt. The game just resonated with me so much, so I was able to overlook things like the kind of clunky battle system, the definitely repetitive battles, or the curse system that they add in way too late and doesn't make any sense and you have to use your rule book to see how it works, or a magic system that's supposed to be a type triangle, but it never really seems like you're doing any extra damage, but it does feel like they do more damage to you. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but there's a lot of this game that's kind of a mess. And you know what? I love it because of its jankiness, because of how weird it is. It's a unique experience that I just feel like we don't get as much anymore. I love games with tragic backstories and deep characters that really feel like you could reach out and touch them, but there's something about the craft of making characters that are one-dimensional and yet so lovable that I think Okage Shadow King does amazingly, and in a way that I would love to see more of. And I just realized I'm forgetting about a certain someone, aren't I? I told you I would tell you about the last member that joins their party. The former Phantom Evil King joins the party as the mage Epros. And he serves a very unique role to the story. Being the last one to join the party, he doesn't get as developed as the others, but there's just so many strange and unusual things about him, such as he's the court jester for a king that we never see. We don't even see this king's kingdom, but we do meet a princess, so perhaps there's more to the world than what we currently think there is. He's also cursed, similar to the way Annie was at the very beginning, except his curse means he can only speak in rhymes, with a few exceptions. Which I'm not sure if those exceptions were translation errors, or if he's just been messing with us the entire time and the rhyming shtick is actually just a joke he's playing. Either way, he fits right in with this motley crew, and he gets something a little bit special. See, he knows things. He knows about the way the world works, he knows about the classification system, he knows all of the world's little secrets, and no, he's not going to tell you. So he joins the party last, and yet somehow has managed to make one of the biggest impressions. And not just because in his fight he's kicking your butt with magic and then the second you recruit him he's downgraded to the point he's just about useless. No, I'm not bitter about it. But with Epros, the party is now complete, and the group heads to the World Library to conquer the one who writes the world and defeat the classification system once and for all so that everybody can choose to define who they are. And if that ends up being what everybody told you you were, what everybody expected you to become, that's okay. A lot of the party members are excited at the ability to pursue it without being forced to, but it's still their dream, it's still their want, and now they get to choose it for themselves. They get to know that this is exactly the person they wanted to be. And that's what's the most important. Being able to stand up on your own 2 feet and say, this is who I am and this is what I'm about, is the most powerful thing in the world. And that kind of brings us back to the fact that this is the 1-year anniversary for my channel. I'm someone who has always struggled to speak my mind or stand up for myself when there's something that I want or something that I want to achieve. And so I related to Ari more than just a little bit. But this channel is sort of my chance, my opportunity to stand up on my own 2 feet and say, I like art, I like characters, I like story analysis, and I want to talk about it. And you know, I don't think my day job would exactly appreciate if I did that while I was at work, so this is my own little place to come and share my thoughts about whatever I feel like, and it's been a wonderful experience for me just to have this space to be able to do so. And if you enjoy this, if you enjoy these ramblies, if you enjoy hearing somebody talk way too much and way too long about this, that, or the other thing, then hello, I'm Blue. You should like and subscribe. There, I said it confidently that time. That's a year's worth of experience, baby. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on what I want to do moving forward, what goals I want to set, and maybe, just maybe, find some time to speak up for myself. Or else I might be overshadowed by a truly evil king. Or something like that. So, regardless, I'm gonna work on some plans for the future and how to define who I am and who I want to be. Until next time, later!